You know all those safety rules we just take for granted? Well, a lot of them were born from some truly unimaginable tragedies. Today, we're going to dive into one of those events, the Cleveland Clinic fire of 1929. It was a disaster that completely changed how we think about public safety forever. So picture this, it's May 15th, 1929. A fire breaks out at this brand new, state-of-the-art medical facility. But here's the thing, it wasn't the flames that were the real killer. It was something way, way more insidious. And by the time it was all over, 123 people were dead.
Rescuers were just horrified by what they saw. I mean, this was no ordinary fire. The victims weren't just burned, they were poisoned. Their skin was actually changing color as their lungs filled up with this toxic gas. This wasn't just a fire, it was a chemical event, an accidental one, that unleashed a deadly poison from the inside out.
So what on earth was lurking inside this modern hospital that could cause something so bizarre and so deadly? Well, the answer was hidden away right below everyone's feet. To really get what happened, we've got to rewind to that morning. It started out just like any other day at the clinic, which was always a pretty bustling place. Upstairs, the 4-story clinic was the picture of normalcy. You had doctors, nurses, patients, all just going about their day. But they had absolutely no idea that a chemical time bomb was literally ticking away deep down in the basement. And here it is. This is the villain of our story, nitrocellulose film. Now, this was the standard stuff for X-rays back then, but it had this terrifying secret. It was super flammable. And this is the critical part. When it smoldered, it released this whole cocktail of poisonous gases, like carbon monoxide and nitric oxide. Nasty stuff. And the clinic didn't just have a few sheets of this stuff. Oh no, they had a massive stockpile. We're talking estimates of up to 10,000 pounds of these volatile X-ray films, all packed into a single basement storage room. That's 5 tons of solid fuel just sitting there, waiting for a spark. So what was the spark? Well, investigators from the National Board of Fire Underwriters, they never found one single definitive cause. But they did narrow it down to 3 really credible possibilities. An exposed, super hot steam pipe touching the film, a bare light bulb left hanging too close, or just a carelessly tossed cigarette. Any one of those could have kicked off the whole chemical reaction. Whatever the trigger was, once that smoldering began, a deadly chain reaction was set in motion, one that would pretty quickly turn the entire clinic into a gas chamber. The whole situation just escalated with terrifying speed. Around 9 a.m., a steam fitter starts a repair job right near the film room. By 11 a.m., he comes back to this horrifying sight, a cloud of this nasty yellowish gas. Then, a small explosion actually pushes him out of the room. The alarm is raised, but honestly, it was already way too late. What made this fire so unique and so deadly was the nitrocellulose itself. See, it creates its own oxygen as it burns, which means you can't put it out with normal methods. In fact, when firefighters sprayed it with water, it only made things worse. It created more of that poisonous smoke. The victims were breathing in this deadly mix of gases that basically suffocated them from the inside out. Then, at 11:30, a huge explosion just rocks the building. A clock on the 3rd floor actually stopped at that exact moment. This blast forced all that toxic gas up through the building's core, but in a really strange twist of fate, it also blew out the skylight, and paradoxically, that's what eventually allowed the building to vent, which probably prevented an even higher death toll. But amidst all this horror and chaos, these incredible stories of heroism started to emerge. And one of the most famous tales from that day had a surprising twist that was pretty much lost to history for decades. This one man, Officer Ernest Stabe, became a symbol of courage that day. He just kept charging back into that toxic fog, pulling victim after victim to safety. He single-handedly rescued 21 people. I mean, that's just an unbelievable act of bravery in the face of what looked like certain death. Newspapers all over the country, we're talking the New York Times, they all reported that Officer Stabe had died a hero, that he'd succumbed to the poison gas after his rescues. But here's the amazing part. He didn't die. He did collapse later and was hospitalized, but he survived. And he went on to serve on the police force for another 25 years. A true hero's story, just with a thankfully incorrect ending. So when the smoke finally cleared, the city and the whole nation were left trying to grapple with this immense loss and asking, how could this have possibly happened? The answers would lead to changes that still protect us to this day. The property damage was estimated at just $50,000. But the human cost, it was staggering. 123 lives lost, including one of the clinic's own founders. It was just this stark reminder that the deadliest hazards aren't always the ones that destroy the most property. The Cleveland Clinic fire was a direct catalyst for huge safety reforms. Cities started issuing gas masks to firefighters, for one. New national standards were established for how you store hazardous materials in hospitals and other facilities. In essence, a national safety code was forged in the fire of this one disaster. The safety regulations we don't even think about, the ones that govern how chemicals are stored, what buildings are made of, hospital procedures. So many of them exist because of days like May 15, 1929. It really makes you wonder, right? How many of the unseen shields that protect us every single day were actually born from a tragedy that we've long since forgotten?